All right, so now that we're into chapter 6, let's talk about something associated, like energy and reactions associated with the human body. So fundamentally, we exist because we intake food and oxygen. Obviously, there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on, but if we weren't able to do that, we wouldn't last very long. So we breathe oxygen to deliver oxygen to certain parts of our body, but also to provide oxygen to react with the food we eat to break it down into smaller pieces, ultimately to carbon dioxide and water, and in that process, it produces energy. That energy is used by our cells to do the work they need to do. So we're going to look at a bunch of things in this chapter, but a lot of them are applied to the existence of humans, right? How we maintain, or how our bodies maintain things so that we continue to stay alive. So when we look at energy, we get our energy from the food we eat, and all the food we eat, if we purchase it, comes labeled with calories and fats and things like that. So it gives us some idea of the amount of energy that will provide to us if we eat it. So when we deal with foods, there are basically three types of biological molecules, biomolecules, that will produce, or that our body breaks down to produce energy. We have carbohydrates, we have fats, and proteins. Okay, and on these labels, typically we get a total caloric amount for a serving size, and then we get, fats, carbohydrates, and protein, so we can see how that type of food, whatever we're eating, is broken down into those three main types of molecules. Okay, so most of our cell's energy comes from fats and carbohydrates. Most fats and carbohydrates are made of carbon, hydrogen, with some oxygen there, but mostly comprised of carbon, hydrogen, carbon bonds that react with oxygen pretty readily in our body to break things down. Now, as we intake food and the food gets broken down, ultimately the process takes us down to carbon dioxide and water. So this process of breaking food down, in the example on the right here, is the reaction of glucose with oxygen. So if we intake glucose, it reacts with oxygen to break down to carbon dioxide and water. But this overall process is called cellular respiration. And as this process goes, as the glucose is broken down to smaller and smaller pieces, ultimately to carbon dioxide and water, during that process, energy is released. And energy is released because glucose and oxygen molecules have more energy, more potential energy, than carbon dioxide and water. Okay? And that energy comes from the bonds and the structure of the molecules. So if I take glucose and oxygen, they have more potential energy than the carbon dioxide and water. So if I take glucose and oxygen, break it down into carbon dioxide and water, that excess energy that glucose and oxygen had is released to the cells, typically as heat. Therefore, that energy provides the cells with a means to do the work they need to do. Okay, so through this chapter, we are going to look at reactions, energies associated with reactions. We're going to look at activation energy, which is the amount of energy you need to get a reaction to occur, or to start, actually. And then we'll look at equilibrium, and we'll look at things that affect all